Hello there, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. When I'm not making videos for this channel or, raising awareness about the danger that dolphins pose to humanity, I spend a lot of time just reading, researching, and trying to figure out how this crazy world we live in works. I'm just naturally a very curious person, and over the years I've kind of turned that curiosity into a investment profession. That's kind of like one of the main things I do. I don't know if you guys have seen my broad industry report on starship manufacturing and Star Wars. I highly recommend for anyone thinking about investing in that industry to take a look. It's a great place to start. Starfighters are sexy and it's exciting to invest in that industry, but there are a lot of pitfalls you gotta watch out for and a lot of opportunities that you can take advantage if you know where to look. But anyway, the other day I saw a few articles about breakthroughs in the development of a material known as hydrogel. And it actually seems to have a lot of properties that are equivalent to Bacta. I think the tag a lot of news articles are using is that it's a self-healing bandage, which sounds really cool. I'm always debating about this with my friends, whether our literature and art inform the sciences or it's the other way around. My understanding is that a lot of science fiction writers are also avid consumers of science and technology trade journals and are in general very interested in the future. Not just technology, of course, but also, how we will evolve socially as a race, politically as a species. If you take a look at George Lucas, his second calling to life before he even became a filmmaker was being an anthropologist. That or being a race car driver. He was either being an anthropologist or a race car driver. Those were the two things that he kind of fell in love with before the whole movie career took off. Anyway, science fiction is really just a thought exercise. It's unique in that this genre is really all about the setting, which is in the future. And if you take a look at the plot and the stories, they're not all that different in themes and tones when compared to a lot of stories that are written about present time or even the past, right? You guys have heard this idea that, humanity only has like 7 or 10, or it's like a fixed number of interchangeable stories that basically can cover every story that's ever been told. One of these types of stories would be the hero's journey, which is what Star Wars is, which is what most Star Wars films are, actually. And so the story oftentimes isn't going to be the most important part in science fiction stories. Instead, artists try to use their understandings of the present to predict the future. And so you almost have to be aware of cutting edge technology and advancements in society to properly partake in this genre of writing. This is also why I feel like there's a lot of really campy science fiction stuff that have terrible stories and terrible plots and are just vehicles to basically explore the future and talk about cool technology and weapons, stuff like that. So in Star Wars, there's a thick and gelatinous substance used by medics and doctors called Bacta, and it has the ability to regrow tissue, nerves, skins, and muscle. It can even combat some deadly viruses and bacteria. This is why Bacta is almost a universal kind of magical treatment for all sorts of injuries and illnesses. A lot of times, in order to stabilize a patient, they will just be dropped inside of an entire Bacta tank, where their whole body is submerged. During the Clone Wars, you also see all types of Bacta injectors that can be used in the field. The Republic Commandos actually had the miracle gel built into their suit, and it could automatically dispense Bacta to treat a downed fighter. Pretty cool. And then usually for regular clones, medics usually had some type of Bacta patch which can seal and then eventually heal wounds. This is what Kix used to save Captain Rex's life after a sniper round penetrates his breastplate. This substance was so important that there were several wars fought over the raw materials that are used to build and make Bacta. For instance, during the Stark Hyperspace War, a group of pirates managed to cut off Bacta shipments to the rest of the galaxy. Many of the Republic Defense Force troopers who were wounded during this conflict ended up having gruesome scars and mutilated bodies because of the Bacta shortage. Now, because of Bacta, it was actually very rare for veterans to have any type of visible mutilation or scarring on their body, and so the survivors of the Stark Hyperspace War, these veterans were always easily identified by how their bodies looked. So in our own world, the closest thing we have to Bacta would be these hydrogels, and they've existed for quite some time. Although technically Bacta is not a liquid, it is a biphasic material, as in it is kind of in between a solid and a liquid. And usually for something to be considered hydrogel, they need at least 10% liquid or water making up the material. Currently, we actually have several hydrogel products available for consumers. This includes hydrogel bandages, which can be very effective for wound treatments, especially people who are burnt, because the liquid in these bandages create a more moist environment that promotes healing and less pain. But these bandages can dry out pretty quickly, at which point they just become like a regular bandage, or they will stick to a wound, which is extremely painful. This is one of the bigger problems that people are facing when using hydrogels for medical treatment, right? There is just a lack of tensile strength because of all of the moisture that is inside of this material. But at the same time, if you decrease the moisture and the tensile strength gets higher, it no longer has those properties that allows it to heal things quickly. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you have more rigid hydrogels like contact lenses, which don't absorb liquids nearly as well and can dry out very quickly, which is always fun when you're like working on the computer at 2 a.m. and your eyes are like bloodshot. And so this is the big problem with hydrogels. It's a science problem, right? When you add too much liquid, too much water to any type of material, it tends to break down other molecular connections or the structure and tensile strength of the material. Imagine a wave hitting a sandcastle, right? So the recent breakthrough with hydrogels isn't exactly about hydrogels' ability to treat wounds. I mean, they've been already using this type of material to treat wounds for quite some time. Instead, it's really about a group of scientists at Aalto University in Finland, sorry about the mispronunciation, and the University of Bayreuth in Germany, also sorry for the mispronunciation. These institutions have made a breakthrough in material science itself, and they have developed a new hydrogel that has the ability to heal itself like skin. As in, if you cut this material, within about 4 hours, the material will return back to its original shape, and usually within a day, the gel can heal almost any type of injury you make to it. Now, in the Star Wars galaxy, Bacta is made from a mixture of kavam, a synthetic chemical, alazi bacteria, and bori fluid, and a type of barley known as Vraxia rennanicus. And so this is a partially organic compound that has living organisms in it, which is why it's able to heal so effectively, most likely. This novel hydrogel is not alive in the same way, and the secret to this new research involves the use of thin nanosheets that are embedded into the hydrogel, giving it more shape and rigidity. This apparently stabilizes the gel and also creates bonds at the molecular level between the polymers, which is why it can heal itself. Of course, my understanding of this part of the science is very limited. It's like having a monkey doing your tax returns. But the implications of this breakthrough in material science is kind of awesome and could lead to real innovation in the future. A big emphasis on could, because there's a lot of stories out there about research like this that you never hear from again. It's one thing to just scientifically make something viable. It's another thing to actually create a business model and demand for it. And obviously, a lot of news media today, not doing great. And so they are sensationalizing, trying to make small discoveries look like something much larger, which you could argue that I'm trying to do as well, but this is like Star Wars related, right? And so while you won't be making any investments with this knowledge about the advancements in hydrogel material science, I think it's important to stay up to date with leading edge technology and at least have a basic understanding of what's out there in the world. It's important to nurture your curiosity and, more importantly, just develop a love for research and train yourself to absorb information. Because the more you know about the world, the more information and inputs you have, the easier it is to navigate all of its challenges. Now, as far as this self-healing hydrogel goes, the future applications of biphasic materials that self-heal could be huge. It won't necessarily function like the Bacta tanks we see in Star Wars, but it could lead to materials and devices that could be implemented in all sorts of kind of surgeries, injury treatment procedures. Hydrogel injections, for instance, have been used for hip replacement surgery. I mean, the real problem with a lot of these artificial limbs is the body oftentimes rejects it. It's the connection point between flesh or bone and metal. You oftentimes have infections, bacteria, other kind of problematic things that make your body basically fight these foreign materials. Hydrogels are currently being used to deliver antibiotics to the sites of such infections, but potentially in the future, hydrogels can be used as a replacement for, cartilage, for instance, the soft material that is usually connected to your pelvis bone and hip socket. Up until now, hydrogels kind of lose form and lose shape after a while, so if you have something that can self-heal, that really changes the longevity of this material and how it can be used. Also, hydrogels could potentially be used in robotics in the very near future. I mean, scientists have been looking for flexible and soft materials that can mimic the look and feel of skin. And just imagine, robots that are covered in this kind of hydrogel material that looks and feels like skin, but also can repair itself. I mean, that's almost like T-800 from Terminator, right?
I'm a cybernetic organism, living tissue over a metal endoskeleton.
So maybe this is Terminator technology and not exactly Star Wars. But anyway, if you watch this channel, if you like science fiction, if you have this curiosity for technology, I just have to say, I know the world is getting scarier and scarier today, especially with all these large language models that seem to indicate that AI is right around the corner. But the truth is, as a species, there's a lot of ways we can benefit from all of this new technology. I know most influencers and media outlets are talking about the negatives instead. And while a lot of those concerns are warranted, I think you should balance out the negative with some positive news as well. A lot of these LLMs will, for instance, be able to speed up all types of research, right? These LLMs are all about processing large amounts of data, something that humans really get bored of after a while. These large language models will be able to speed up all types of research and also create simulations on their findings and reason. This is exciting for many fields, especially in material science and also biotech, because essentially we've lowered the cost of research and modeling things, right? This really is going to increase the speed at which new compounds, new substances are going to be found. The future of AI is not certain right now, and I know there's a lot of fear about people losing their jobs or just humans losing their autonomy, or as a species, we lose our worth because of this technology. But my advice to everyone has always been, don't give in to the fear, right? Try to figure out what exactly is happening. Do your own research. The more you understand new technologies, the better you'll be able to understand how it will actually impact the world around you and your life. And it will put you in a far better position to react to these changes. Information is always going to be an important weapon or tool, and gathering it is always going to be a much better idea than just remaining fearful and helpless. Look, we live in a crazy world with magical band-aids that potentially can heal themselves. We have AI right around the corner, general AI right around the corner. We have probably household robots right around the corner, self-driving cars, all that crazy stuff. And it can be a lot, especially when you're just at home, you're looking on social media, you see all these rapid changes. It can be terrifying. It can also be you can also feel left behind because it seems like everyone's making money now. Cryptocurrency, meme coins, just traditional securities, or even Amazon drop shipping, right? There's so many people out there trying to convince you to do this or that to make money quickly. And I gotta tell you guys, don't fall for it. In life, nothing comes quickly. And if you want to become successful, if you want to find yourself in a place where you're happy and in control with your life, you cannot rely on shortcuts. Because even if you are lucky enough to win the lottery or win some money in some pump and dump meme coin, becoming wealthy isn't as hard as you might think. It's actually attainable for most people. We all have one or two opportunities in our life that can really change our financial futures, but sustaining that wealth, having that success over a long, stable period of time, it's really not something that's created by just one decision, one lucky lottery ticket. Real long-lasting success and fortune comes from changing your mindset, right? And your mindset shouldn't be focused on making more money. That's a classic mistake. Actually, most of us, when we don't have money, we're way too focused on money. It's only when you let go of that kind of desire, that attachment for money, and you focus on the things that generate money, will you be in a better place. And the things you have to focus on are pretty simple. You just have to focus on improving yourself, finding every opportunity to learn, and developing just a love for learning. I mean, for me, even when things were horrible and depressing, I always found a way to learn something from it. I remember when my mom was dying from cancer, she had a tumor on her spine and she couldn't walk. And so it was incredibly difficult to help her do things as simple as, go to the bathroom, right? You have to support a human body that cannot move by itself. It's about over 100 pounds. And this was a problem. So it was around this horrible time that I started learning about exoskeletons. Yes, the giant wearable robot suits we see from Edge of Tomorrow. I did research and I found that there were actually models that were used to rehabilitate stroke patients and other types of individuals who have mobility issues. And two things ended up happening. One, I made a few exoskeleton videos for YouTube, which did kind of well, because I learned a lot. It was fun. And then there was the other thing was I actually invested a small amount of money into an exoskeleton company that provides exoskeletons for people with these kind of impairments. And even though I've lost money on this investment so far, hopefully it will turn around one day. Who knows? But this would have never happened, I think, without this horrible situation happening to me. And over the course of the last few years, I've learned a lot about this technology, its limitations, its potential. I've also learned about the struggle medical device companies go through to secure approval for Medicare and insurance. My mom, unfortunately, is no longer with us anymore. Rest in peace. But in a weird way, she inspired me to get into this specific industry, or just to research this industry, and it has expanded my mind. You know, it might not make me money today, but maybe somewhere down the future, it will. Who knows? And that's because the most valuable thing we have is our brains, and we collect information in these things. And now I have all this research about exoskeletons, and more importantly, like, it's just nice that I understand this piece of technology and where it's going, because it does have the potential to help a wide range of people who suffer from a variety of medical issues, including what my mom went through. I don't really want anyone to go through that loss of mobility. Whether I make money from this or not isn't the main point. Anyway, I've always said to people, like, my secret for never being depressed is just trying to always find things that engage me. And I'm lucky because I have a lot of curiosity, and, everything in the world seems to interest me. Like, when I meet people, oftentimes I'll just interview them kind of about their jobs, even if it's something extremely mundane. If it's something I didn't do, I want to learn about that. And this curiosity, this is one of the most important things to, I think, living a fulfilling life. Constantly ask questions, constantly look at what's going on around you. Don't fall for the fear. Don't fall for the hatred that is kind of just everywhere on the internet right now. Whether it's new technologies or new social phenomenons, I think when we keep our eyes open, when we keep engaging, that is when we find opportunities. That is when we find happiness and opportunities to be successful. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. I'll see you next time.